Hey everyone, it's Kenji. I'm here at home and I'm going to show you 3 ways to make egg fried rice. So the first one is using an outdoor wok burner, like a super high powered thing. The second one is using just a regular indoor gas burner. And then the third one is what to do if you don't have a wok and you don't have a gas burner. So just if you have like an electric cooktop or like maybe a portable gas stove, something like that. So 3 different levels of fried rice. All of them are going to start with the same ingredients. So that's about a cup and a half, a little more than a cup and a half of cooked rice. This is day-old rice. This happens to be sushi rice, but you can use jasmine rice. You can use medium grain Chinese style rice. The key is that you need it to be dry. So it doesn't have to necessarily be a day old. It just has to be dry. So if you're cooking it fresh, that means you want to spread it out as soon as it's done cooking. Spread it out in a single layer on a sheet tray and let it steam dry, at least about 15 to 20 minutes or so. Or better yet, if you can use day old, cook it, spread it out in a sheet tray. Put it uncovered in your fridge overnight, and that's what I have here. The other ingredients are 3 scallions that I've chopped, and then 3 eggs that I've roughly beaten, and then the only other things are oil and light soy sauce. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ingredients total. That's all we're doing today. Alrighty. So this is version 1, which I'm going to make on this outdoor wok burner. I'm doing a big test on wok burners right now, which is why you see all these guys out over here. All right, so high heat to start. Preheat the wok. You always want to preheat over high heat. That's what's going to get you that nice kind of non-stick surface. This is a 14-inch round bottom wok, which is what I use for when I'm cooking outside. So as soon as you see it start smoking like that, add a couple tablespoons of oil in and shut off the heat. Right now, it's just the pilot going there. Now, shut off the heat. Then from the residual heat of the wok, this is 3 eggs I've beaten. In they go. So we're gonna let them sit there, do a little swirl. Basically, as soon as they are set on that first side and just starting to brown, we're gonna flip them over like that. Keep swirling. Okay, and when they're mostly set, we push them up the side. Add a little more oil, another couple tablespoons. Maybe a tablespoon, maybe 3 tablespoons total here so far. Get our rice in there. Once the rice is in, I'm going to kind of flip the egg so it's on top of the rice like that, then get my heat back up. And start breaking up the egg. And with the back of my spoon, kind of break the rice up. The other thing I did was before I started, I broke the rice up with my fingers, just so that it wasn't in huge clumps. So cooking on an outdoor burner like this, the advantage is you get really high output, which is what's going to get you that wok-hay flavor, the smokiness that really good fried rice has. Okay, and that's just about it. I'm going to shut off the heat. Add just another splash of oil around the side. And then right where I put that oil, I'm going to squirt my soy sauce. About a tablespoon of soy sauce. And you want to hear that sizzle. You always put the soy sauce around the outside of the pan, not directly on the rice, because you want it to really quickly sizzle off and reduce. That also adds to that wok-hay flavor. And finally, over the lowest heat, throw our scallions in. Toss to combine. And we're done. Okay? Simple enough. Real quick, I think that took probably less than 3 minutes, maybe 2.5 minutes total. And that's fried rice done on an outdoor wok setup. So next what we're going to do is we're going to go inside, and I'm going to show you how this is done on an indoor setup. So now I got a similar setup. In this case, I have a 14-inch flat bottom wok, which is what I use for an indoor burner. I have it set over my hottest burner, and I'm going to let it preheat the same way just until it starts smoking a little bit. By the way, this is a carbon steel wok. What you want in a wok is carbon steel, not nonstick, not cast iron, not aluminum, not anything else other than carbon steel. That's the best material for a wok because it balances heat retention and weight, and it's also durable, and it forms a nice non-stick surface over time. And you want to look for something that's at least 1.5 millimeters to 2 millimeters thick. So I believe that is 16 gauge, 14 to 16 gauge, but don't quote me on that. This one I got at a Target like 20 years ago for 20 bucks or so. But the one that I recommend is the Helen Chen Pro, which you can get on like Amazon, or just go to a restaurant supply store and find a good wok. On an indoor burner, again, you do want a flat bottom so that it rests well, because a round wok will wobble too much on an indoor burner. All right, so once it starts smoking lightly like that, I'm going to do the same thing. A couple tablespoons of oil, swirl it around, and in this case, I'm going to leave that heat on because an indoor burner is not hot enough that it's going to rapidly pick up heat again as soon as you put in the rice, which is what the outdoor burner can do. So in this case, you want to leave the heat on the whole time, because otherwise it's not going to cook well enough. The rice is going to make everything too cold. All right, same thing, 3 eggs. Let them sit just a little bit. Swirl, swirl, swirl. Make sure that it's not sticking down there. Okay. Once the bottom seems like it's about set, flip. Swirl, swirl, swirl some more. And you can already see how much slower this goes on this kind of setup. All right, and so when the eggs are mostly set but still a little bit wet in the middle like that, that's when I push them to the side. A little bit more oil. Here comes my rice. Put that egg right on top. Start breaking it up. I like this trick of putting the egg on top and breaking it into the rice because, first of all, I think it helps the egg. Well, first of all, make sure that the egg doesn't burn on the bottom of the wok when you pump the heat up and you start really frying. It also makes it easier to break the egg and incorporate with the rice, and it also serves to kind of break up some of these bigger rice clumps. Otherwise, it's much harder to break the rice up with just when it's just kind of naked. So on an indoor burner, this is going to take a little bit longer, and you're also not going to get the real wok-hei smokiness. Although if you want, what you can do is, I showed this in another video, what you can do is this. Get a torch. Point it in there while you stir fry. And that's going to give you some of that smokiness. Not quite the same as using a real high heat outdoor burner, but it's going to capture some of it. That's just a regular old butane canister, disposable butane canister with a torch head from a company called Iwatani. All right. So when the rice is mostly broken up and starting to kind of jump a little bit, so you can see the rice jumping down here, that's a sign that enough moisture has been driven off and you're just about done. So a small little splash of oil at the end around the side there. Soy sauce in the same place. And you'll see I've left the heat on as high as it goes the whole time. Alright, now finally shut it off. Just to let the scallions soften a bit and release their aroma. Alright, and we're done. So that is version 2, which took about 1.5 minutes longer, I'd say. You'll be able to tell exactly from watching the video, but I think it took about 1.5 minutes longer. Still very good. Not quite as much of that smoky wok-hei flavor, but still very, very decent egg fried rice. All right, so finally, I'm gonna show you what to do if you don't have a wok or a gas burner. So this is an induction burner. It would be the same if I had an electric burner though. This is just a flat bottom pan in an induction burner. So the key with using electric coil or induction is that a wok is not going to heat up nicely because the flames can't go up the sides like they can on a gas burner. So you do need to use something with more of a flat bottom. That can either be a wok with a very wide flat bottom, or it can be something like this, which is just a non-stick skillet. Non-stick cast iron, those are two good choices, but you do want something, or carbon steel, you do want something that the eggs are not going to stick to. So same idea, preheated. We're not going to preheat it until it starts smoking because non-stick can't get quite that hot. It'll start, the coating will start to break down. So I'm going to let it go until the oil's around 375 degrees, 375 to 400, no hotter than that. So basically, when it starts shimmering, you can sort of tell like the oil, it starts off super viscous and then it becomes more and more liquid as it heats up. And that looks good. So the eggs go right in. Same thing, 3 eggs. We're gonna let them just sit for a moment as they cook. Give it some shakes. If there's a big bubble that pops out like that, you can just give it a pop so that you get some good contact on your side. I go for a very minor light browning on one side of the eggs, but of course you can cook them as dark or as light as you want. If you prefer, you know, like really soft scrambled eggs, you can do that too. All right, same thing. So we're gonna kind of fold it over a little bit, push it off to the side. A little bit more oil. Oops, Lisa, can you give me just a couple more minutes? Thanks. Rice in. Egg on top of the rice. Yeah, see that browning? That's what I'm going for there. Just a little bit. And then break the egg into the rice like that. Now, of course, with a non-stick skillet like this, you don't want to use a metal utensil. You want to use wood or nylon. And you're also not going to be able to get quite the same amount of stirring and tossing that you can on a wok. So you're going to have to do a little bit more work. I don't know what that was. You're going to have to do a little bit more work breaking things up than you would in a wok. It's also going to take a little bit more time to get to the same level of doneness. And finally, with something like this, with a setup like this, you're going to get virtually no wok-hei, none of the smokiness, which doesn't mean that it can't still be delicious. It just means it's going to be a fundamentally different dish than fried rice cooked in a wok. So for this rice, by the way, I actually don't rinse my rice. I never do. I don't bother. I don't find that it makes a huge amount of difference. And as you can see, the rice doesn't really get gummy or anything like that. I like to use sushi rice, short grain sushi rice. I cook it in a ratio. I cook it in a pressure cooker. A rice cooker works just fine too, but I have an electric pressure cooker I like to use. I cook it in a ratio of 1.1 parts water to 1 part rice. I find that gives you an ideal sort of texture. But you know, look at the size. Something like a jasmine rice, you would use more like 1.5 cups of water. A medium grain rice would probably be more like 1.75 to 2 cups, 2 parts water. Just follow the directions on the side of the bag, honestly. Most sushi rices are about 1.1 parts water to rice. Definitely don't rinse it after you're done cooking it. You want your rice to be dry, and that does the opposite. Okay, so now we're starting to finally look like we're getting there. Okay. Soy sauce, about the same amount. It's not going to get that same sizzle that it gets in a wok, so the flavor's going to be a little bit different, but that's okay. By the way, I'm seasoning with just light soy sauce, which is not to say that you can't use other things. You know, you can add sesame oil, you could add oyster sauce, you could use some kind of sweet soy sauce, like an Indonesian style soy sauce, you could do fish sauce, you could also do just salt and pepper. ketchup like they do in Japan. There's many, many ways to make fried rice. This just happens to be one of the simplest. All right, finally, scallions are in, and you'll see I haven't taken it off the heat the whole time. It's been set on the highest heat this thing can muster the whole time. All right, and we are just about done. Oops. And so is that spoon. Yeah, Shabba, you can have. I can already read the comments from people telling me dogs shouldn't eat scallions. All right, so there we have it. 3 different forms. Well, 3 different ways to cook the exact same fried rice, from high-end to sort of medium grade to just normal home cooking, and all of them are delicious. All of them a little bit different. Some take longer than the other, but same basic ingredients. And there you go, fried rice. All right, guys, gals, non-binary pals. I will see you next time, and remember, wear a mask, wash your hands, stay safe. Bye-bye.